What's going on, everybody? Prophecy Wiz back at it again with yet another video every other day. Like I told you guys, I appreciate everybody's continued support. The videos have been going crazy, so thank you guys all so much for that. I really appreciate you guys. And today I wanted to give you guys a special video. I've been playing, I probably played 30 hours of the new format already in the past like 3 days, so I've played it just a ton. I've been playing non-stop. And I wanted to give you guys my tier list and kind of talk to you guys about the format going forward and what I think about the hits after being able to like play for a little while, in theory a lot, and yeah, all that good stuff. So starting right off here, we obviously have Snake Eyes. I think that right now Snake Eyes is like tier 2. It's like, it's not complete garbage, but it's just not very good. I think that there's just so many decks that are just massively better than Snake Eye right now that it's just, it's a fine deck. Like, if that's the deck you really, really enjoy playing, then I think you should play Snake Eye. But if you're trying to win the YCS and you don't really care what you're playing, you just want to play the best deck, then I would not suggest playing Snake Eye. I think when it gets to the Azamina cards, it is going to get a bit better, but I actually put together a list with the Azamina cards, and like, it's definitely better than it is now. The Azamina cards are crazy, but I still don't think it's definitely not the best deck at that point. I feel pretty confident saying that it's just, I think when the Azamina cards come out, it goes up to tier 1.5, but I still just don't think it's that crazy. I think it's perfectly fine at that point. It still just gets interacted with pretty easily, and when the Azamina cards come out, we also are going to get Fuvaros, which is going to position a lot of other decks higher, because they either don't care as much about the extra deck or the main deck summoning, where Snake Eye just summons from the main deck multiple times. Like, the Fiendsmith cards are like to do absolutely anything. You're giving your opponent too many draws, and I think that that's like a big deal, because almost every single person, if not every player, is going to be playing Fuvaros in their main side, main or side deck. So I think it's a tier 2 deck. I think when the next cards come out, it's 1.5, but I think that Snake Eye is just not the best deck. Again, at any point, probably, because by the time we get another list, we, that are going to hit the decks that are stronger than it, we're going to have the Malice and YuGiOhCards, which I think are still just going to be better. So, next up, we have the Branded deck. I think Branded is low 1.5 because it could still Puppet Lock. I think Branded is like a good deck, but the one hit to, like, they could still Puppet Lock, which is really good. I just think the one, like, the Branded Fusion going to 1 is a pretty big hit, because it means like you can just get stopped on any of your guys, where you can get Ash, Veil, Mourner, Imperm, Dominus Purge on anything trying to like search the Branded Fusion. So I think Branded's like low 1.5. I think it's still like pretty good because you can Puppet Lock, but like putting it up to 60 cards is just like you're decreasing your chance of drawing the exact cards that are going to draw into the Branded Fusion. So I'm not sure that playing like the 1 grass and I'm playing like more cards that you don't specifically want to draw is worth it. The Centurion deck, I think right now I think it's high tier 2, but I think when the new set comes out, it's going to be like 1.5. Like high 1.5, because I think it doesn't really care that much about Fuvaros, and it has just like better play rounds and better boards. I think it is still super strong. It's super consistent. It's just like, it's very easy to stop if you've like played it and you know what you're doing. The Chimera deck, I think, is top of 1.5. I think this deck is actually like got a lot better with the other decks taking hits, because it really didn't take very many hits. It still can like work super well with the Fiendsmith cards, and it doesn't have to summon a million times from the extra deck. So I think this deck stays good as well. So I think this deck is one of the most underappreciated decks in the game. I think this deck is actually really strong. Tenpai, I think, is the first deck that I would say is like, I would put it tier 1. The Tenpai deck it lost a field spell and two field spell and 2 prosperity. However, it just kept Shifter, and it's just going to be able to win off the back of Shifter sometimes, and it's still just really strong in general. So I think it's good. I personally wouldn't play Tenpai, but I think it's just like, it's very well positioned. And then like once the next set comes out in just a month, they're going to get Fooveros, and then they're going to main deck Shifter, Fooveros, and Friends, and I think the deck is just, like, is insane. But this is for this month, which is why I still have Snake Eye in Tier 2, but I think this deck is still just, like, well-positioned in Tier 1. Dragon, I think it's Rogue. I'm sorry, I know a lot of people love Dragon. Please don't come after me in the comment section. I like Dragons, I just think that it's just not that good right now. I think you just need more cast space. Like, I think it lost Savage. I think it's fine. I think, like, it's cool that bit steals are really good right now because it definitely helps Dragon and puts it not in the bulk section. You know, it's like, you could argue it's in Tier 2, you know, but I think, like, Snake Eye and Centurion are, like, definitely stronger, but I think these decks are, like, definitely stronger than these ones, so that's kind of how I'm formatting it. No decks in bulk yet, so that's cool. Drytron, Rogue as well, but I think it's actually definitely better than Dragons. Why are we not? Okay. I think that Drytron is actually pretty good. It's weird that they brought back Eva though, because it conflicts with the other card that they have, like the new card that came out that's super strong. So it's like there's just two different variants now, I guess, which is fine. But I personally wouldn't be like jumping at the Drytron deck. I think a lot of people like it though, and it's like it's a viable deck to get some wins. I just don't see it winning a YCS or a bigger tournament like that. So kind of why I have it there. Salad, I think is also better than Dragon, but definitely like worse than the rest of these decks. Even Drytron probably, with Eva coming back. So I think that I like Salad a lot. I don't think it's bad. I think it gets to play a lot of hand traps. Like, it's got good stuff for it. I just think it has a hard time going second. Like, if your opponent can play through hand traps well, I think Salad just has a really hard time going second, which is why I would put it in the Rogue category. And then Fire King, obviously, I'm gonna do, like, this is Fire King Snake Eye. I think it's like super well positioned. I think it's gonna continue to be well positioned because it doesn't need to summon a million times from the main deck, and it doesn't have to specifically summon a ton from the extra deck either. So, like, I think it stays well positioned, but I think right now is like, if you want to be playing the Snake Eye cards, you just need to play the Fire King cards with them. And I think that's like definitely like one of the most well positioned decks of the format for sure right now. Gimmick Puppets, I would put it like high tier 2 because they still can one card FDK. Just the field spell will burn you to death. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you guys seen Clifton Land did a deck profile before the list came out later, like it might have been the day of, and he won a regional with the deck, and he was playing like 3 copies of Foolish Goods, 1 Crystal Beast trap, and then like has so essentially, and like they have discards for the trap, so you in theory can have like 9 copies of a field spell, which is a 1 card FTK. So I still think it's like fine. I just don't think a lot of people are actually going to be playing the deck. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. I wish they would have just hit it in a different way and banned something. Rescue Ace, I think Rescue Ace is like one of the most well-positioned decks right now. I've never liked the amount of bricks that it plays, but I think that it can just set up like just a ton, like setting up 4 back rows and then having access to like Sunlight Wolf. I think is really good. The Book of Moon monster, it still can summon like SP and or IP or SP, probably just SP to protect their board so they don't get nibbed into oblivion. But I think that Rescue Ace is insanely positioned. I think you can make a good argument that Rescue Ace is actually going to be the best deck for this next month or so, and it could even stay the best deck as well for a while. I think that this deck is just I think this deck is like broken right now. I think it didn't lose a lot of the cards that are still really good for it, right? It still just plays like 1 copy of Poplar, 3 Witch, 3 Wanted, and all that good stuff. So I think this deck is super well positioned right now. Labyrinth. This might actually be worse than these for sure. Labyrinth, I think, is also just like a lower tier 2 deck. It's tough to say with Labyrinth. Like, I like Labyrinth. I just feel like their ceiling just not... Like, I think losing Skill Drain hurt, honestly. Like, the Trap version is, like, fine, but I feel like the better the player, the easier they can just play through back row, and their just, like, engine doesn't do enough. Yeah, I think Labyrinth's, like, a fine pick if you enjoy Labyrinth. I love the Labyrinth deck. I think it's super cool, but I think it's still just, like, a lower tier 2 deck. Voice's Voice. This one, obviously, you guys know, like, I have an affinity for Voice's Voice. Like, I think this is, like, is the best deck, which is why I'm playing it. I would just play something else if I thought that it was better. But, like, for me, I feel like Voice's Voice is right here. I think it, like, the boards it sets up are nearly impossible to play past. Like, when you go first and you set up your combo, you just win every single time. Going second, it can play 13 hand traps in the main deck, side into 22. It's super consistent, super strong. Doesn't care about the new cards coming out in the next set, so that's really cool. For the sake of the video, I think that where you should expect to see Voiceless from a representation standpoint is about right here. Like, this is where it's going to be from a representation standpoint, because whether or not I think it's the best deck doesn't mean that the field of players, the tens of thousands of people who are actually playing this game, are going to show up to tournaments and play Voice's Voice. So, like, I think if you're using this tier list to build for a tournament, this is how you should consider it, because I don't think you're going to run into a lot of Voiceless. Like, I think where it belongs, genuinely, like, not coping, I actually do think it is genuinely the best deck. I think it's insane, really, in every way. It's got insane follow-up, it's got insane boards, it goes second in insane, it plays Nadir. I do think it's actually is the best deck, but I think if you're building, like, if you're looking at this for a tournament, I think you should consider it like this, from, like, here's what I think is going to be, like, represented. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I have it here, but I really think it's, like, it's here from, like, a honorable, you know what I mean? Like, this is where I think it belongs, but from representation, consider it there. So this is going to show people, everybody who skips to the end of the video is going to be like, oh my god, he's so biased, he put Voices in tier 1, blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah, that's just what I think based on what I said. I think its boards are better than this. I think this goes second better, but it doesn't choose to go first, which I think is just a huge issue with the deck. I think if your deck doesn't choose to go first, it's not something I personally would play. So we'll see who skips through and just, like, puts that on the, like makes comments about it. I think it'd be funny. Memento, I think it's, like, high tier 1.5. It's just not nearly as good as the rest of these decks. I'm going to do this from, like, a representation standpoint, so I'm going to leave this here, but just know that I do think it is actually is at the top. When people look back at this, if people are screenshotting this, I want people to think about this from, like, I think I'm going to run into X amount of these decks. I think Memento is, it's a very strong deck. I think it has, like, issues, though. I feel like it has, like, some, like, bricky weird hands. It plays, like, a lot of cards that are, like, not specifically ideal, and I think its end board can still just, like, kind of get outed. Like, you just Cosmic the Trap, and it just doesn't really have much, which I think is a big deal, and it doesn't put up any negates to, like, stop that from happening. Like, even, like, I open a Nadir, serve it against it, and just, like, pop the trap. It just doesn't do anything. Or even just pop the 5,000 attack monster, even better, and then, like, it still just does nothing. And it only, like, keep note that the trap only negates on field, not in the graveyard or hand, which is very important, so. Ritual Beast, I think, representation-wise, you're probably going to see it here. I think it's, like, where it belongs, like, from a strength standpoint, is probably right here. Where it's going to probably be from a representation standpoint is probably right here. I think people are going, like, I think the first few weeks people are going to start playing Snake Eye, but I think this month specifically, people are going to realize quickly that Snake Eye is just not, like, very strong. I think playing Shifter, I think this is the best Shifter deck in my personal opinion, so, I mean, I guess Tenpai, right, obviously, but I think, like, this deck, like, loves Shifter. This deck just can play Shifter really well, but this deck, like, loves Shifter, and I think this deck is, like, under a Master Pilot is very good. Raise y'all, I'm sorry, Bulk. I don't really have anything else to say about it. I just don't think the deck's very good. I think, I think Tier deck is, like, actually a lot better now. I think Tier is very strong. I think everyone's, like, I think the right way to play Tier probably is, like, playing, like, definitely with the Lightsworn cards and playing, like, a 50-card deck, and then, like, being able to resolve Grass and be able to thrust into it and, like, always, like, hit, like, 10 cards, which I think is crazy, and not playing just, like, 60 cards to, like, put extra things in your deck. So, I think Tier is, like, about here. Like, I think it's, like, definitely is a contender. I think I think the ban list did a lot more than people thought initially, so yeah, I think that like it boosts a lot more decks to like these decks are like not massively far off these decks at all. I just think that like you're gonna see these represented a lot more, and they're definitely like a bit stronger. But yeah, I think the ban list did a lot more than I had personally thought initially. Wonder, I'm sorry, it's just bulk, just not good. Sprite, Rogue, play Shifter. If it, you know, I mean, I played a Sprite deck today. I played Shifter, it was fine. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about it, truthfully. I feel like it's, yeah, it's just not that good. Runic, right here. I think, you know what, actually, this is definitely going to be more represented than these. I think this is probably going to be represented, like, somewhere more, like, here. Sorry, I just put the Runic deck there, and then I was like, there's no way that more people are going to be playing Snake Eye or Centurion than the Voiceless deck. I think Voiceless is just better. I think, for some reason, people don't like Voiceless better than Memento, but I think it's probably going to be, like, it might even be somewhere, like, right here. As far as, like, a representation standpoint, I think it's going to be, like, close. I think a lot of people are going to play what they enjoy this format, so it's, like, tough to, like, rank it in a representation standpoint like that, but I think Runic is, like, definitely, like, right around here. Cash, top of Rogue. Actually, Cash is probably, like, here. Tier 2, just because it plays Shifter. Cash, I think, is not a horrific pick, though. I think like, most of the decks, like, everything that's, like, above, like, in Tier 2 or above, I think, like, is a reasonable pick, especially if you could play it really good. Whitewoods, I think Whitewoods is going to be pretty played. I think the deck is really strong, and I think people really enjoy it, which matters a lot. Pure Unchained, I think this deck is better than right here, but I think what you're going to see out of the deck, like, I think you're just not going to see a lot of Pure Unchained, because I think anybody that was playing Unchained is just going to play YuBell. So, like, that's where I put it here, because I really just don't think you're going to run into it. I think it's actually not that bad, though. And then YuBell, I think YuBell is, like, by a lot the strongest. Like, I think it's just by a bunch the strongest deck. Like, I think Voiceless, in my personal opinion, is just better because it plays, like, a lot less bricks and, like, has, like, less weird hands. But from a pure representation standpoint, a board standpoint, like, it's just clearly the best. I think it's just not even close. Like, there almost should be a separate tier. Like, I think, like, YuBell is, like, arguably going to be, like, 0.5, and then it's going to be, like, the rest of these decks in, like, this order from a representation standpoint. I feel like the mass majority of the best players are going to flock to YuBell and just start playing it. I think these other decks are still going to see a lot of representation from them then and then proceeding. So this is kind of, like, what I expect to be represented. Not... And I do think it from a strength standpoint, you know what I mean? Outside of Voiceless that, you know, I'm biased to and just think is better than people would rank it. I think that from a representation standpoint, I think you're going to see, like, about this. I know there's probably going to be a lot of people who think I'm crazy with the Snake Eye thing, but I think it's just not. I think that this is, like, what you should expect to see at a tournament. And let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Please like, subscribe if you're not already. Drop a comment below telling me if you think that this is dumb or if you think that I'm spot on. And yeah, just give me your thoughts. So thank you guys all so much for tuning in. I really appreciate everybody's support, and we will see you on Friday.